Welcome to the Clutch Burners Podcast. This is your home for stick shift drag racing, stick shift tech, and this episode we have an engine tech deep dive. And of course, we have our regular hosts, myself, Bank Shift Bill Armstrong, and over there, who are you?
Clean shaven Rich Guido.
That's right. And our guest tonight is Stefan Rossi of Ace Racing Engines. And I have to add, this guy was given the Engine Builder of the Year award at PRI. Let's just dive straight into it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
He's amazing. Engine Builder of the Year, that's huge.
Engine of the Year, I think, but yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Engine Builder of the Year because I like that better.
Cool. I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, though. I really appreciate it. No.
Oh no, we're privileged. We're privileged to have
Likewise.
somebody of your caliber on here. Now, although you don't drive a stick shift, one of the questions is, do you even know how to drive a stick shift?
Of course I do, dude. I'm from England. We grew up with stick shift.
Oh, is that what the accent is?
Yeah. Oh, the accent.
Other
Yeah.
hand too.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, with left hand even. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, because you mentioned it, why don't you tell us about the engine that you won the award for?
Okay, so it's a Noonan block, a Wimber crank. That one's a 427 cubic inch engine. Normally built 400 or 441. It's got aluminum rods. That one had Carrillo aluminum rods.
What's the platform?
Oh, sorry, it's a LS platform.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But obviously, everyone likes to talk about LSs, but there's nothing LS about it apart from the front timing cover, and the bore spacing, and maybe the cylinder head design. But yeah, the short block, it's Cleveland, Maine, so your Ford stuff.
Right.
Bore
spacing's the same as a small block Ford too.
Pretty much. I think it's 20 thousandths or 40 thousandths, isn't it? 4360 on a small block Ford or 4380. Yeah.
No clue.
It's like it's 20 thou or 40 thou difference to it. I just did one, so I should remember. But it's like 20 or 40 thou difference.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, keep going. I cut you off.
It's got custom Ross pistons in it, 4 round skirt pistons, interlocking pin buttons, thick wall 990 pins, receiver grooves, top fuel hoops, copperhead gaskets, just like what you've just done on yours. It's got CID cylinder heads, LS7. Where it can be hydraulic roller or solid roller. That one, it was in that car, that Fairlane that you saw in the Ross booth at PRI. That one is hydraulic roller. Billet intake. That one made 2316 to the hubs on. Man, I can't remember. I think it was like 40 pounds or 36 pounds. It wasn't a lot. I can't remember.
M1 fuel, I'm guessing.
Yeah, M1. Yeah. I can.
That's methanol, Rich. Methanol.
Yeah,
it's M1.
yeah. Thanks.
Why? What do you run, Rich?
C16.
Oh, okay.
Same here. We're C16 brothers, me and him.
You guys must be rich then. C16.
Well, his name is Rich.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
An E85 is pretty rare up here, so there's no real point in setting my car up for E85. And to be honest with you, when I do these drag and drive events, maybe 15 gallons at the very most is all I would burn, because the rest of the time it's on pump gas. So it's not too crazy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and my understanding too, I mean, I could make the switch to E85. I have a flex fuel sensor on the car and stuff, but it would require me upgrading the fuel pump and stuff. And I carry a backup fuel pump, and doing that's like $3,000 to buy 2 new fuel pumps. That's an awful lot of C16. So, and like Rich said, we have E85 here, but it's not everywhere. And I see a lot of these guys on drag and drive events carrying like 50 gallons of fuel with them because they don't have E85. And I just, you know what? I can pull into just about any gas station and pump gas and just go.
Yeah.
And I have one other thought on that too. And this is another friend of mine, Troy Clark, talked to me a lot about this. and he said even the even the OEM cars that are E85 capable flex fuel vehicles, the manufacturer doesn't even recommend E85 being run in them because you're running so much more fuel through the motor, you're just wearing it out.
Yeah, washing the
And
cylinders
for
down for
what?
no
You
reason.
don't need that driving down the highway.
No, we don't. No, we don't run anything of ours on the 85 at all. I tell all my customers, like that one you saw in the Ross booth, he wanted to run E85, and they did dyno it on pump gas, E85 and M1. And I said, what's the point on the 85? You're wasting your time. Just literally have a street car and then have a race car. And street car pump gas, 91, 93, whatever you can get. Race car, alcohol, or C16, whatever.
The
Yeah.
other thing I like about C16 is you can screw up pretty good with C16 and still be safe.
Really? Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you what the tuning window is like. Yeah.
Yeah.
The tuning window isn't even, the screen isn't even big enough to show the tuning window. Rich,
what heat range plugs do you use?
Typically, I'm running 5s and 8s.
NGK heat range.
Yeah.
Really? Damn.
and
We went like 10, 11s. 11 mainly.
and I believe I'm running 7s, and I don't switch plugs. I run 7s on the street, 7s at the track. But Rich, you got to tell him the story, because I know the reason why you brought this up, but tell him the story about the timing ring and how far off it was and you didn't hurt anything.
Oh no, I did hurt. Like that was so I had changed balancers, and my what the hell do you call it? The timing gear, or the ring, is mounted to my balancer. My tooth wheel is mounted to my balancer, and when I mounted it to the new balancer, I lined it up and I thought, oh, that's pretty close, but I'm still going to have to check the timing. And I did an event. I had 15 degrees more timing than I thought. So I run quite a bit of my Pontiac, like 27 degrees timing. So throw another 15 degrees on top of that. It was running pretty good till it wasn't.
Yeah. Driving down the highway or going down the track?
Go at the track. Actually, I did learn that cruising down the highway at 55 degrees timing, it loved it actually.
Yeah, I bet it running a bit cooler maybe.
Yeah, and then it didn't like it as much, even with C16 and intercooled. Eventually, it ate the head gasket. So no, it
Really?
didn't hurt the plug. It just took out one little spot on the head gasket, and all of a sudden there was some communication, and the engine didn't want to turn over. And, yeah, that was a fun evening.
Yeah. So Stefan, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then eventually get to your company, Ace Racing Engines.
Okay, so I'm from England, as you can probably tell from my accent. Not Australia, as everyone likes to ask me.
Oh, not New Zealand?
Oh, fuck, yeah. And, can you swear on this, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, good. So, from England, born and raised, lived the first 30 years of my life there. I'm 36 now, so I've almost been 6 years in America. And I built my first engine with my old man. It was a Volkswagen engine. I couldn't afford V8 or anything like that. We tried to get two 80s Trans Ams for sale for a package deal, but we couldn't get classic car insurance on them in England, so we didn't get that. And I remember, I think they were like £4,000 for both cars or something. It was real cheap.
Rich's car weighs 4,000 pounds.
I mean monetary. British pounds. So like $1.2 basically to the pound. Yeah. So and so anyway, the next best thing to do was either get a Volkswagen, like an air-cooled Volkswagen, push-rod engine, 4 cylinders, carburetor, distributor, or it was go the other way, and which I thought about a little tiny bit, was to get didn't last long though, to get a Polo and put a body kit on it and do all that crap. But I didn't go down that path because I've never really into that stuff. So my dad had a Bug in the garage, and we pretty much decided to build that as a project between us. And I built the engine when I was 14 with the help of him and a friend. It was a 1641 hot cam twin carbs, And I had that engine up until I was probably about 17, and it went in two cars, that Berg, and then my first actual car that I drove on the street, which was a '67 Berg. Then went off to the military for a bit. Worked in garages before that, restoring Volkswagens, Kingfish Customs, Volkswagen garages. Hard work, working on rusty pieces of shit, and
Yeah.
bolts snap all the time. We learn a lot fast. And then from there, decided to go into the military for a bit. Always wanted to do that, just something I wanted to do. I kind of was also given an ultimatum as well. I had a huge house party at my house when I was 8. No, yeah, I think it was before I was 18. 17 it was, yeah. And like police with riot shields and shit came like 4 in the morning. Telling us to open it. It was bad. Like
As you would say, a proper party.
yeah, a proper party. It was a good party, but a horrendous party. And I was smashed by like 11 p.m. So which was terrible because I was the one that was in charge. So anyway, long story short, the whole of Birmingham ended up getting wind of this party, and the whole scene that we're in came to this. So everything got ruined. So I got kicked out to go live in Spain with my dad because my mum and dad are separated, and I grew up with my mum and my stepdad, and would spend the weekends at my dad's house. But when I was about 16, my dad moved back to Spain. He got a new wife and he moved there with her. I was resent him for that because he basically fucked me off for a woman, and we've been in contact recently again, and I basically told him, you were a dick back then, and he's cool now. So anyway, so after the party, I get kicked out to go live in Spain, and I hated it because I think it was right around the time where everyone was going out a lot. Some of my friends were 18, some of them I was still 17. I think I was right. No, I think I was just 18. Anyway, my mum said you can come back only if you go into the military. And I'd always said I wanted to do it, so that was my path to come back to England.
Where in Spain did your dad live?
Granada, which is
Okay.
2 hours from Malaga. So, it was nice, but it's not for me. And especially at that age, you miss all your friends and stuff. So I joined the military. Was in the military for in the British Army for 4.5 years, and went to Afghanistan in 2009. Did all that shit. Lost friends, made great friends, still friends, with those guys today. And then left the military. Had an interview for a company that did lowered Volkswagens, and I thought, why do I need to go and work for them? I had this little workshop. I had my Bug that was in there with this 200 horsepower engine that I built when I was 18, 19. So every time I used to come back from leave from the army, I used to go work at my dad's friend's garage. He taught me a lot about it. And then I started ACE, and ACE actually means air-cooled engineering. And that's where the ACE came from. It's not, I don't care for the word ACE or anything. I actually don't like it, to be honest. I think of ACE Hardware, and I really wanted to rebrand, but when we moved to America, but we had such a following already that it was hard to do that.
It stuck.
Yeah, so we ended up worked in England in the shop there for 7 years, and then decided always wanted to move to America forever. And California growing up was you from England, the American dream kind of. You go out west, you go to California, palm trees, sunshine. It's like a stereotype kind of thing. No one ever says, "Oh, I want to go and live in," no offense, Colorado or whatever. No, I mean, no, it's not a thing in England. Actually, I should skip back. Actually, so after I left the military, I lived in Saskatoon for 10 months and worked on Kenworth trucks. So, where do you live in Canada, Rich?
I'm in Alberta, so I'm right next to Saskatoon's. Not that far. I got lots of
Whereabouts in Alberta are you?
Red Deer, right between Calgary and Edmonton.
Oh, no way. Okay. Yeah, I remember we drove to Edmonton once because it was the closest Apple shop around to get a phone repaired. It was 6-hour drive or some shit just to go to an Apple shop.
Yeah. West Edmonton Mall or something, probably.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. With the roller coaster inside and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. So and then ended up, and I played hockey since I was 11, so it was really cool to be able to play hockey there and then work on trucks. I got paid $30 an hour to work on Kenworth diesel trucks, and then I thought it would be my stepping stone into America, but it's just as hard to get a visa for America from Canada as it is from England. So it's the same thing pretty much. So then went back to England, started the company Ace, there for 6 or 7 years, I think it was, and then met Laura in 2016. She runs the business with me.
Did you meet her in California?
No, in England. We've been together 8 years. Yeah.
Nice.
So I think it's coming up. It's coming up on 9 years. Yeah,
and her accent is thicker than yours. Like
yeah, she's from the Black Country. So and that's not like a racist statement. There's a place in England called the Black Country, and it's got that nickname because of the coal mines.
I was going to guess that.
Yeah. So and she's from there. So they're like, "Oh, I'm your Bob, or Bob." That's how they sound like. It's
yeah, it's so thick. Like when I talk to her, I'm like what? I need like a Google Translate or something.
Yeah, we have like Birmingham and Black Country banter all the time. Like she calls me a Brummie, like "all right, mate." She says I sound like that, and I say "all right, Bob, yeah." Because they literally, how are you? They literally make their own like how am you? Like am isn't the right word to use right there, you know. So we rip each other a lot.
I'm waiting for her hand to come smack you out of the seat.
Yeah, literally. So, and then we both went. Her dad is into hot rods, so she grew up around hot rods. I grew up around the Volkswagen scene, going to Volkswagen shows with my dad and his friends, and she grew up around the hot rod scene. So we'd actually been in the same place a lot of times together. When I raced a convertible bug that I had, stick shift, in England, there's a picture of me going down the track in the staging it, and her brother is like in the staging lanes behind me. He had a Ford Pop. Now, I didn't even know him then at all, but it's just coincidence. Like, oh no way, there's your car and there's my brother's car. It's cool. So he's got like a 40s Woody wagon. So Laura worked at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and I lived in Birmingham, and the shop was in Birmingham, so it's about 2 hours away. So eventually things got real serious, and Laura moved up from London to be in Birmingham with me, and she basically started running the business with me for probably the last 6 months or so of the business being in England, and then we picked up everything. Came over here and opened the business. It's an investment visa that we have, an E2 investment visa. So you have to come over here, open the business, show receipts for everything, spend all the money, and you have to do this in the space of like I think you could apply for a tourism visa for 6 months, which we were told we should have done, but we thought we could do it in 3 months. And we had an engine room built and all this stuff, so it took a lot longer than 3 months. So during the 90-day ESTA thing that you're allowed, allocated time you're allowed to be in America for, we had to drive up to Vancouver. We flew up, went to visit some of Laura's friends from the hospital she worked at in London because they had moved there in Vancouver, and then we drove back down. On the way back down, coming back in would reset our 90 days, so we get another 90 days to set the business up. But in that time, the container had arrived, Benny had arrived. He was actually on the same flight as us, and that's our dog, a little dachshund. And so our life was here basically, but we were only on an ESTA. So when we came back from Canada, the first two guys we spoke to were like, "You guys are like lost. Like you can't come back in. You can't just come on a tourism thing." And they'd never heard of the E2 visa and stuff. And they put us in a room. It was so stressful. We were like, wow. And I had already started building engines, and I took about 4 engines with me in the container from England because it's been crazy forever since I started. Never been caught up. And so we brought engines with us, and we had people waiting, and we had new customers in America waiting for. So we were like, man, if we don't get that back in, our dog's there, my race car, the Nova being shipped to our machine. Anyway, the third guy we saw was like the manager, whatever. And we mentioned E2. We started talking about it, and he was like, no. And then I said, well, what else are we meant to do? Like, this is an E2. Like, to E2? And he went, E2? And we went, yeah, well, that's the visa that we're getting. And he went, oh, yeah, I know about that. And we had a letter from our lawyer. We said, look, like, try to show this to the other guys. He read the letter and he was like, yeah, okay, you guys can come in. But make sure you finish your business setup in the next 90 days, otherwise you will not get back in again. And we're like, so then we got to come back in, finish setting up the business, and then we had to go to the do this big application, send it to the US Embassy in London, and then go line up there in a line with everyone else going for all different types of visas, and have an interview right there and then the guy can say yes or no or whatever. They thought it was a legit business, and
That's
said yes. Yeah, and that was when with Benny's back there and everything, and yeah,
it sounds like it would have been so much easier just to come from the south and walk right in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh my God, it's very ironic. Yeah. It's funny. So we're our visa is expired right now, but we're still legal here on I-94, which is a permit to travel. But we're landlocked, so we're legal here, but until the end of this year. But if we leave to go back to England right now, we couldn't get back in. So we just reapplied for our visa. We're waiting for an appointment date. As soon as we get an appointment date, we have to go back to the embassy in London, line up just like day one, week one, and have an interview and hope that we've done enough in the last 5 years to show growth. And we have one employee as well. So yeah.
Wow.
So
wow.
Again. So.
That seems as complex as figuring out valve train issues.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So in the background, all that going on, it's not very.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's worse. You got to deal with people, though.
Yeah. People are a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah. Their interpretation, or what kind of mood they're in that day.
Yeah.
So Stefan, talk to us like who is your typical customer? Like who comes to you and's like, man, I need an Ace racing engine.
Just guys that want to go fast, and some of them will be guys that have been following us for a long time, and most of them are people that have followed us for a long time, or through word of mouth know about my work and machining and measuring and all the stuff we do. Some of them will be guys that have been fucked off by other builders multiple times, and I have to be the one that fixes it and be caught in the middle between that, and that sucks, but they get a good product at the end of it. Just costs them more in the long run.
So when you say people follow you on what, Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram. Instagram is a great.
And we'll ask for it again, but tell us what it is, because I follow you on there, but it's
It's I think it's Ace_Racing_Engines or just Ace Racing Engines. I can't remember. Yeah, Ace_Racing_Engines. Yeah. I think it was taken without the underscores. That's why.
And I have to say the photos, and Laura, when I saw you guys at PRI, she was just giving you so much crap, but the photos you take literally look like they're in a studio. And she was like, "Oh yeah, if there's a little paper towel or a hammer or anything in the background, you like totally prep the scene for the shot."
Because so before I started posting, so you can go back on my Instagram to the beginning. Like when it was a personal Instagram of mine, and there's me and my friends, and then there's odd pictures of engines, the American cars that I import and build in England. Even from then, if I'd post a picture, I would never let a hammer be in the background. And I always said to everyone that was there, I said, man, imagine if there's a hammer in the background. That guy's going to think you're using that hammer to build that engine. You can't have that hammer in the background, like stuff like that, And so that's, I don't know, just angle about that, I guess.
So you're saying that when I use a hammer to put my stuff together, that's not right?
Maybe just the main caps. That's
All right, thank goodness.
Yeah. I'm sure you all seen that video of that guy hammering that camshaft in.
Right.
It's a bigger hammer. Yeah. And so, what would you say is your specialty? Like, do you build drag race motors, road race, or
just drag race?
Whatever.
I'll build whatever, but it's this year has been a year of learning to say no, and that's been a great thing because of being able to actually focus on the combinations that we offer. Whereas all the years prior, it's been, let's say, 40% of the combinations I offer, and it's probably 60% of the combinations I offer, and then 40% of random things that people want me to do, like, hey, can you just do this, that, build this for that, can you use this part, and that. And now it's just we're able to just no to any of that stuff and just our combos. So we offer like 5 engines, and they're all just drag race, mostly class 8 mile racing engines, but we do the drag and drive combination as well.
So,
Yeah.
do you have a typical build platform, or like you build 5 engines? So, like, what are they?
So it would be hydraulic roller or solid roller standard deck LS, normally a billet block. We can use a dart block as well. The cost of the dart block versus the billet block, well, the aluminum block, aluminum block isn't that much. I mean, it is, but these guys, some of them are spending. Well, we're talking like 25, 20 like 25 to like 3,200 crank shaft horsepower in a small block, depending on what combination it is. And they aren't customers that are gonna. They don't really. I'm trying to say it without trying to sound arrogant, because I'm not, because I find it hard to afford to finish my own car. They don't care basically, but they do care. They're all normal people. My customers aren't. We haven't broken into we've got a couple of pro mod Hemis on the go, and we just finished one, but we haven't broken into pro mod yet where we've got guys phone us and say, hey, I want 3 Union Hemis, one in my trailer, one in the car, and one at you, or always at your shop being refreshed. We haven't got to that level yet, but we are at the level now of pretty much most of them are billet block, cast head or billet block, billet head. So the combination the main offer is standard deck, solid or hydraulic roller, Union block LS with cast cylinder head, CID cylinder head. Can do dry deck, wet deck. Then we do that same combination in a tall deck. And then I do the tall deck Union in 2 combinations, 461 cubic inch, one with the Union head. I do one with a CID 10-degree head, which is like the Ford SC2 cylinder head. And then we do a Union 49 Hemi. I have done some big block stuff. Don't really advertise my big block stuff much, even though they're really easy. I like the small block thing. I love the Hemi thing as well. It's cool because they make 5 to 5,500 horsepower. They're insane, but you have to change rods after 25 passes, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But I like doing less with more. So the small block thing to me is like where it's at, because I think it's cool to be the little guy and be big block.
So, if a guy was to come to you to build a nasty small block Ford, would that be one you say no to, or you would be like,
So
yeah,
I'd do it. I did one last year. It took me. I had to modify absolutely everything, and it was a nightmare. But I think I would do it again for the right person.
yeah, and just for reference, like a guy comes to you wants a 461 Noonan motor built. What's that cost going out the door?
The full Noonan 461 with the daily dry sump, the billet intake, dyno broken in on my
Everything.
dyno. Yeah, everything. It's like 72k, and then we always sell a spares package, so a couple of rods, a couple of pistons, a couple of rock. Gone 389, 196, 47 pounds of boost, which is about.
Yeah, that's impressive. Wow.
And it's in a truck as well, and the truck weighs 2,550 pounds. So it's not very aerodynamic or anything.
Right. Yeah, and it's so heavy. I mean,
it's not heavy, but it's not. Yeah, it's not. It's light, right? But it's not 2,250 or 2,300 pound light.
Right. Huh.
Okay, I got to back you up a bit though. Let's. So how fast did you go in your bug? What was
only 13s in my bug. Yeah. 13s at like a 98 mile an hour or something.
Awesome. And did you bring your bug over, or you left it over there?
No, I sold my bug in. Well, I've had my Nova since 2016. So I sold my bug. Right, I sold my bug to pay for the Nova. I imported the Nova from London, Ontario, to England. It was raced in Chicago as a bracket car, and then it went to a guy in London, Ontario, and was raced there. And it had small block Chevy in it. And that's what really got me in England to start doing V8 builds. So from going to starting out doing Volkswagens was because that was what I could do and what I could build. And my own bug with the big engine I had in that got me a name around where I was from there. And so we started building performance bug motors. But as soon as I could branch out into the V8 or afford a V8, that's what I did straight away. And it took me to 2016. I think we opened the business in 2012, so 4 years of business it took to be able to afford that. But sadly, I had to sell the bug. So, but then got into the Nova and then spiraled out. And then from then on, it's been V8 have slowly been taking over the Volkswagens, and now it's like we have, I think there's 5 builds left maybe, and then we're done. We're not taking any more Volkswagens.
Really?
Yeah,
I,
it
I,
takes a long time to do.
I actually think it's super cool that because you see this like billet block, really nasty V8 stuff, and then you post some Volkswagen stuff, but you build it with the same precision. Like
Yeah,
I
we've
don't
done
really,
all of them and everything.
I mean, I don't know Volkswagen stuff, but don't some of those motors make 300 plus horsepower? The ones you build?
Yeah, we did a turbo motor that made over 400 horsepower. It's a street motor for a VW bus. Uh, they weigh.
Yeah, I was asking about the bug because the first vehicle that I restored when I had enough money was a Baja bug, and same thing. Yeah, 1800 cc twin carbs,
Yeah,
and it was Baja. So I
yeah,
remember driving it through all kinds of shit. Like you could beat the hell out of those things. They were awesome.
yeah, and they weigh like 18 to
Yeah,
2,200 pounds, like nothing.
yeah,
Like even 100 horsepower in something like that is like a lot of fun.
it is a lot of fun. Yeah, and they're built to run into stuff. Like everything
Yeah,
moves backwards. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I do still have a soft spot for them, but for business and just where we always wanted to be a race engine builder, not a Volkswagen engine builder. I
So
don't mean to say that.
yeah,
Appreciate what the industry's done for me, but I just
yeah,
V8's where
so
it's at.
let's talk about. I mean, you build some winning motors. Talk about some of the motors and the people that have them and the events that have your stuff in them, because I know there's quite a few that have won with your motors in them.
We've had good success at Drag and Drive. Michael Westberg won Sick Week.
oh, that was his.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
3.
yeah, sick
Yeah,
week.
because I crashed 2022, and it was the year after that. That was a 400 cubic inch LS base solid roller motor. Then we have quite a few class cars. We have a couple of customers down in Florida that are doing really well. I have a guy called Glenn Burek has done 5 wins, like overall wins, and I think 3 of them were back to back in no time. So we've had quite a lot of success in no time. No time pro truck. We just came second in at No Mercy back in October, and we've had.
It's awesome.
What's funny is I'm just realizing that I've seen some of your videos, but I never put 2 and 2 together until you started
Oh, no
talking. I'm
way.
like, until you mentioned the crash, and then I'm like, oh, now I know.
Yeah,
It's the black Nova with the yellow headlights.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
with the UK plate on the front. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
That's rough.
so let's talk about, because I know Rich and I do drag and drive stuff. What's like the biggest difference between like a full race motor that you build and a drag and drive motor? Like what are the differences? I mean, obviously, it's going to be a wet motor, but what are some of the things that you take into consideration when you put one of those together versus a full race motor?
Valve train design really is the only thing that's different, other than the solid block, solid head. Like I'll do 60mm cam definitely to have a bigger base circle, but I won't do 12.5 to 1, 13 to 1, 920, 930 hour lift and stuff like I would in a class engine. And I wouldn't use thinner rings like I might do in some class engines that are going to get refreshed more than not, because we want longevity and ring seal. We don't care about the loss of horsepower from running 116, 116, 316 ring pack in a drag and drive combination, because we just turn the boost up a little bit more. But other than that, honestly, apart from the water going through the block and heads and the cam obviously not being a little bit more extreme as the class stuff, and the compression, we're normally about 11 and a half compression on the drag and drive stuff. They're the same pistons, same rods, same crankshafts, same heads.
So so let's dive into valve train. Like what will you share? Like what are the things, how do you decide between a hydraulic or a solid roller motor, and then everything, springs. I mean, the whole package. Like, what goes into that thought process?
The hydraulic versus solid thing is basically, I wouldn't do a class engine hydraulic roller unless it was someone who really wanted to have some micro record.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, literally, yeah, that's it. You're going to put as much lift because the cylinder heads that we put on, they flow, in the high 400s, sometimes low 500s. But we're talking like over 900 lift. You're not going to put that head on and then use a hydraulic roller cam 700, 750 lift. Not. But most times the hydraulic stuff doesn't even come into the equation and all the drag race stuff we do. It's only if it's a drag and drive combination or more.
Customer preferred.
Yeah, like not sportsman, but is sportsman the right word? I don't know because I think we're all sportsmen, right? But like maybe like one guy, goes to the track every occasion, doesn't have a team of people. He might be like, nah, I can't be bothered to fucking set lash and all that shit. Just do hydraulic roller. But if the same guy said, hey, I want to go out in X275 and like be a front runner in X275, we wouldn't even discuss. A lot of the stuff we do now is solid roller. Michael Westberg's sick week one was solid roller. The one that was at PRI, hydraulic. Clint's, that's going to be at sick week in a couple of weeks, that's hydraulic. Just because he didn't want to set lash and stuff. That has almost 700 lift in it, a 60mm cam. Like 190 on the seat, 500 over the nose. That's it. I like that about the hydraulic stuff, especially for drag and drive. You're not running anywhere near the spring pressure that you're running on a solid. So. But then again, on the solid stuff, like as you know, you just help you out with your own springs and stuff. We don't run that much anyway.
Yeah, and I was actually shocked because I'll admit it, I've had some valve train issues, and we pulled it apart this time to go from O-rings to the hoops. I talked to you about that, and you sent me a whole worksheet. I mean, from valve weight to lots of different measurements and stuff no one has ever asked me before. And then when you gave me the specs for the springs, I'm like, are you sure this is right? And your response was, has anyone ever asked you for the weight of your valves? And I was like, no. And you were like, fuck off then. I was like, oh, yeah. that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get it running again because it's so different than what I've done in the past, and it's so much less spring pressure. It's shocking, actually.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So
we just so it has got me into trouble once. Not into trouble with the engine not working or anything, but we had the small up forward that I did for a guy. Those cylinder heads were done by a company on the East Coast, and it turned out that it had too tight of exhaust in the valve guide clearance. I checked all that stuff, so I checked it going like just up and down with the gauge, but never turned it 90 degrees. And I've had the heads back since and fixed it. At 90 degrees, the guides were tight, under 1,000 in some places. And for alcohol turbo, we always like to be at least 18 tenths to 22 tenths on the exhaust valve.
So you don't like when the motor's cold for the valves to hang open? Is that what you're saying?
No, that shouldn't happen. Yeah, and he's got this a spring pack in that engine that, like yours, it's very small. It has 230 on the seat and about mid eights over the nose. It's small stuff. The cam is about 930, I think, something like that. The X275, it's a class 13. No, is it? Yeah, I think it's mid 12s to one compression, 400 cubic inch, single 88mm turbo, so lots of back pressure. And when what would happen would be that they would stick when it was running, and then it wouldn't do it, and then it would do it, and it wouldn't do it. And I thought basically it was creative excessive lash, and I'd never had the engine in front of me doing it. It made 9 pulls on my dyno, and then 11 pulls on this hub dyno. and then he went to the track, and then it started having problems. There were some user-induced things like setting a lash in the wrong place, not on the base circle, and stuff. So anyway, there were signs of excessive lash, right? And he was told by everyone at the track up in Washington and Canada, in Mission Raceway Park, everyone was telling him, you need 400 on the seat and 1,000 over the nose. Everyone was telling him that. And I'm like, dude, like, your engine is not the only engine I have out there with these springs, and not the only type of engine. Like, yeah, but it's the only small block Ford you've done. I'm like, what the fuck does the valve spring know what engine platform it's on? You know what I mean? Like, your valve is the same weight as all the other valve, the exhaust valve specifically, because it's the only one that's having problems with it. It is the same weight as all the other valves in all the other engines, and whether that be a Dart 10 degree or a Noonan 10 degree or the CID 11 degree. That's only 8 grams lighter in that cylinder head. And there's a car in the pits next to his car that has the same fucking valve springs, and the valve, and his cam is more aggressive seat timing than his cam, than the small block Ford cam, and the valve is only 8 pounds lighter, and that thing's been going for 2 seasons. So I'm like telling him, like, you've got the data in front of you, like, it works, blah, blah, blah. You've made great power on your hub dyno, all this stuff. Anyway, finally get the heads back, and it was the exhaust valves were sticking in the guides. But because of the small valve spring stuff that no one's ever heard of. Like, Ben Strader knows all about this stuff.
Ben Strader's the man, yeah.
And a few other good engine builders will use this same stuff. But because this guy hadn't, and everyone at the track, you know, and their dad was basically telling him, you know, it was very stressful for me, my camshaft grinder, the spring manufacturer, all rocker arm manufacturer, push rod Manton, everyone. It was basically like we'd all been called, fuck you, you did it wrong. And your cam, your rockers, your push rods, app springs, you're all wrong, basically, by these guys at the track, and the customer. And it was so fucking stressful. And as soon as I got the heads apart, when I got them, well, actually, he took the heads off and he found it. He phoned me and was like, this is what I found. He goes, I'm sorry. I was like, the stress you've, like, so yeah, long story short, right, they're fucking awesome. They are. But man, like, if you have a scenario like that, it really pissed me off, you know what I mean? Like, the guy had no, what's it called? The word I'm looking for. You know, when you believe in someone.
Confidence.
He had no confidence in it because he'd just never seen it before, and he was being told by all these peers he saw as peers at the track that it was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you probably told some people about your spring pressure and stuff.
100%. I was like, wow, but you know, like for example, the diameter of the spring is significantly less than what I ran, so there's less weight there. We weighed, because you asked me to weigh everything. I was like, well, when we weighed the retainers, they were half the weight of what I was running before. I mean, by like 80 grams. Like, it's a lot. And all that stuff is less weight, so you don't need as much spring to manage it.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
My cam is a baby cam compared to some of the stuff you're talking about right now. So yeah. And that leads, I guess, to another question in that. So at what point, and I think you asked me, you had me weigh all this stuff, but you said, okay, what are the parameters? Like, how much RPM you want to spin it? How much boost, I think, was a question you asked.
No, RPM.
So boost wouldn't really matter a lot for spring pressure?
No, not at all.
Okay, because you read about that. They're like, oh, you need to take the area of valve and calculate.
You have to go through valve timing events, and you have to realize the pressure that's in the cylinder, but you also have to think about the pressure that's on the back of the valve as well, and really it cancels each other out. But like that was a discussion that we had with that small block Ford as well. The exhaust needs more because it's X275 and it has 40 pounds of boost and 88 pounds of back pressure. And no, it's not, because the cylinder pressure in that cylinder is it's not just 88 pounds of cylinder pressure when that when that exhaust valve is trying to open. You know what I mean? It's fucking insane. So I said that to him. I said, like, so if that was right, then that spring pressure needs to be more than the cylinder pressure to even open right in the first place.
Right.
And then he kind of didn't know what to say to me. I was like, well, I've just made you like understand it right there and then, like, and it was just I don't know. And we're friends, but that just whole scenario. So yeah, boost we don't.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm part of a group of Ben Strader, and we've had this conversation quite a bit. But it is a hard one to wrap your head around. But that's actually a good explanation for it. You think about how much pressure you're trying to open against, and but yeah, I'm and I've told Bill this lots. Like the least amount of spring pressure you can get away with is absolutely what you want, because especially for I put 24,000 miles on my car last year. If I
It's
was
crazy. You drive your shit. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
What springs and stuff have you got and pressures are you in?
So mine's a 521 cubic inch Pontiac. It's got Edelbrock heads on it. They're wide ports, so everything's offset. It's got offset lifters, offset rockers, and they're a 1539 psi spring. And with my installed height and stuff, they're about 230 on the seat and about 540 open.
Okay, oh nice, cool.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned too is I used to like lash close to the manufacturer's spec, but it's an iron block, aluminum heads, so it obviously grows. But I'm down to, like, when I first set it up, like if I take the valve train off and I put on new adjusters or something, I set it up at 3 thou cold now. And the other thing I do is once it's kind of wore in, I take a 5 and an 8 thou, and if it's anywhere in between there, cold, I don't adjust them anymore, because I was finding, as you try to chase a thou and you're moving the adjuster, it's just wearing a new groove in the adjuster.
And not to mention the temperature change from front to back of the engine and from passenger side to driver side as well. It's
totally.
So let me ask you this, Stefan, because we talked a little bit about this too. So what are your thoughts on, and this is a selfish question. So with the new setup, same cam, but with the new spring package and everything else, what are your thoughts on me lashing it at 3 or 4 thousandths cold versus, the cam spec is like 16 thousandths.
16 thou hot.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So I don't mind if you run tighter, no problem. Just don't ever run looser, because if you imagine the built-in lash ramp that's in the cam, and you skip that, it hammers the shit. And that's the first thing that we had that small but 4 was doing, because he was lashing it in the wrong place. So and the cam manufacturer had actually ground the wrong lash into it. We lashed with 20 thou hot, and they had ground it with 10. So I had him lashing it at 0 thou, because it grows about 10. When it grows 12 thou, that's aluminum block, aluminum head. So we couldn't do anything tighter than that, because you wouldn't be able to start it. So it was basically 12 thou. But you figure out he was lashing it at where it wasn't on the, so you want to do exhaust just opening, do the intake just closing, do the exhaust. Well, he was doing exhaust with the intake just opening, so it was nowhere near the base circle. So you figure out, and he decided to do a 6 thou, because he didn't have smaller than a 6 thou feeler gauge, which, I mean, that mentality to me is like, come on, just order some off Amazon and wait one day or some shit. I mean,
you got a $70,000
Yeah, you had like 70,000 of valve lash. That's not a problem, is it?
I couldn't hear you. It broke up right then.
That's 70 thousandths of valve lash. That's not a problem.
Yeah. So I worked out, right, that this thing had 80 thou more lash than it was designed for when it was hot. So I got no. So if you want to run tighter and you don't see any power, I've done it on a dyno where we might see, try and set something at 0, and it might only grow 8 thou, and say we've got 12 or 14 thou on the card, but 8 thou is 0 thou is so easy to lash an engine at 0 thou, because you can spin the push rod, spin the roller, but there's no gap there. You don't need a paper thin 2 or 3 thou feeder gauge. It's fucking easy. Like, the easiest, people slag it off, but 0 thou is the easiest fucking thing to lash an engine at. Yeah. Right? And they start, no problem. Unless you fucking 0 lash it at 68 Fahrenheit and then go to 33 Fahrenheit, I'm sure you might have some valves open then. But
Rich and I won't have that problem.
so yeah, I think you'll be fine. Just don't do too much, so it's not skipping and
So
hitting the front.
lashing it a lot less is clearly outside of what the cam
It's
was
going to have
ground at.
yeah.
So
I think it's going to change cam timing slightly. I think your valve events are going to be advanced slightly because things are happening. So if you've got 270 thou duration and you've got a 10-degree lash ramp and you're lashing it half of that, I think Ben probably answered this question better. I think you've really got maybe 275,000 degrees of duration.
so it's technically making the cam bigger.
Yeah. That's why a lot of hydraulic stuff we do on paper, they don't look very big, like 250s to low, 270s maybe. But when you do solid stuff and it's 270 to 280 or high 260s to mid 280s, you take away the lash ramp. It's actually not far off at all. The only difference then is the lift because of the. I mean, I haven't done more than 700 on a hydraulic, but I think we could get away with it now with the 904 lifter that's available.
Well, Rich, you're like what, 705, 710?
Yeah, 708, 712 or something like that. That's the other thing. I mean, I think you have to consider with the drag and drive is like I'm driving for like I put 1,000 miles on in a day. Like that
Yeah,
thing,
it's crazy.
it's
Yeah,
barely not cooling down. So I think I have really found that my the trunnion bearings and the rockers, the lifters, everything is way happier when I set it at 3, and then keep it between like 5 and 8 cold because it opens up quite a bit when that whole thing is like at
yeah,
temperature
hot,
for such a
seat
long
soaked.
time and
Yeah,
banging away. And if I ever do have lash starting to go away, it's amazing how long or not how long it takes to take a lifter out.
yeah,
Because it's
very fast.
whacking that thing. And
What
I mean,
lifters do you run?
it's their Crower 904 lifters.
Yeah, nice. The Enduramax stuff, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. And that's when I got this new Dart block, I machined it for 904s as well. Not that I ever had a lifter issue, but bigger is always better in that case.
what lifter are you using now?
Same.
Oh, okay.
Crower and Duramax, yeah. Um, yeah. So, and the other thing I noticed too, this last round, I lashed it tight like 4,000s cold. And I can tell you when something starts to go away, you immediately hear it because it's so quiet with the lash that tight. It's almost like a hydraulic. And as soon as something starts moving, you're like, what? Whoa, I can hear it. Stop. Let's check it out. So, yeah, it's definitely, there's some advantage there that I've seen as well. So,
Stefan, when you have a billet block and you talked about how much the lash grows, I know I had an aluminum Pontiac block for a while, and it was crazy how much that block would change with heat. So if you were going to recommend a block for drag and drive, would you go billet aluminum or would you go iron, or what's your thought there?
I got no problem with iron at all. The engine that was in my Nova was an iron block. It's just if you can afford the extra 110 to 120 pounds of weight on the front of it, and these drag and drive cars, as you all know, like they get heavy anyway. Especially your guys is all steel or glass cars. They're so you want every bit of weight you can save. The iron block is going to last a long time, but depending on if you're going to be pushing it in like a limited or limited iron or something like that, then I would always go to the billet block because sooner or later the block will crack in a small block combination.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
Maybe
I
my,
know,
200 to 350 passes. I don't know.
yeah,
because
my
in
aluminum.
aluminum, yep, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say my aluminum Pontiac one, it cracked between every cylinder behind the sleeves.
Yeah. How long did that last?
Pardon me.
How long did that take to do that?
Not very long. Of course, I was playing around with pump gas more than I should have been. So I own a bunch of that for sure. But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's how I would answer the question too. I was curious if I was on the right thought, but for a guy like me who puts on that many miles to do it with a billet aluminum or even a cast aluminum block with some weird combination like a Pontiac, I just feel a lot more comfortable with an iron setup than I do with an aluminum, and
Yeah,
have to eat that weight.
yeah, true. Yeah, yeah. That's the only
And
downside, but I think is the weight. And eventually it will crack, but in the mains. But the other thing is detonation, or a lot of people, not saying you, but a lot of people, some of the guys I've dealt with that are my customers who are, or maybe that I've sold parts to, block pistons, cranks, stuff like that, or I'm involved in their program in some other way, but not their engine builder. I know the damage that's occurred and what's occurred, and a lot of it is on the brink of detonation without them even knowing it, and knocking pin bosses out of rods and upper bearing wear on the rods and material, catwalk, all this stuff. It is. You might not have melted spark plugs, melted chambers. You might see the threads on the spark plug just start to roll over in the chamber if you took the head off, but you might not have any other signs. And if they're not that experienced to know what kind of EGT is the safe level for that engine, like the stuff that we class race with, I know where the EGTs, if they get over a certain temperature, I know that it's something is either pre-detonate, it's on the brink of detonation, or already is happening just from looking at the log. And then we pull the plug out, and we can always see it on the plug. It's either nipped the plug, or it's where the plug looks nasty grey, and you can pretty much tell it. And if when you got an iron block and you try and run a drag and drive event, and your engine is on the edge like that, and you don't know, it can make the iron block turn into a fucking boat anchor because the caps won't fit. They just can be pulled off. It can crack very easily. And that's the same with the aluminum block. When Westberg went sick week, he has that aluminum dart block, and I was fucking shit scared that he would crack that block going down that track. But the tuner involved, Michael's very experienced. I'd like to say I'm quite experienced with the tuning side of it as well. And the tuner that was actually doing, that was sending logs to and was doing it, he was very experienced with making a small block live in a quarter mile application. So we would run less timing and command a fatter AFR out the back after the 8th mile, and even after the 330 really. And it would go fatter and lower timing as it would go down. Now, a lot of the guys don't realize this, not a lot, but some of the guys, and they have problems a lot because they're really trying to get after it. And when you rattle an engine like that with any block, it doesn't matter. So iron, cast iron, cast aluminum, like no, not forgiving. They're going to crack. The aluminum one's going to crack, like you witnessed. It's either going to crack by the cylinders or it's going to crack literally through the whole main web. The iron block, and it's going to lose cap press and have transfer, and the iron block's going to have a cap walk, lose cap press, and potentially crack. And when you have the billet block, what it does is it knocks the main housing oval, but it can be fixed depending on how bad it is. I had one that was done really bad by a customer. It needed, like normally when I have a classic customer detonate an engine, it needs maybe one, maybe two pistons and two rods from those cylinders. Because normally it's one that's done, and then maybe one of the cylinders that's on the brink, and you don't know it until you measure the pin boss in the piston in the rod. And then, so I changed those two rods and pistons. But this other one, this next 275 came back, and they detonated everything. So every piston, every rod had to be changed because they had set timing on the hub dyno with the front wheels off the ground, so the wheelie control. And then when it was on the hub dyno, it basically was like a 15 degrees advanced or something already. So it made killer power, but it
15 degrees.
yeah. So yeah. So but like in an iron block or a cast aluminum block, like that could have cracked the aluminum block that it was in, I was able to just cut the caps a little bit and get the housing back to round. And the press was still there; they didn't lose any press. So I think it's a longer term investment kind of thing. Um, but I think if you switched on, which I think you guys are, like you're going to make a cast aluminum or a cast iron block live for a long time.
Yeah, it's I'm part of a land speed team too, and yeah, talk about a different tune for that. Like wide open throttle for 90 seconds.
That's
It's like,
insane. Yeah. What
yeah,
AGTs do they see?
we'd have to ask the tuner that, but I think, yeah, I don't think I could fairly answer that question. I'm more the clutch guy, but um, Matt Blasco is the guy that tunes it, and yeah, definitely like you're describing. You know, you got to know, you got to add enough fuel, you got to know what to do with timing. I mean, they have great big air to water intercoolers and tanks on them because you don't give a shit about the weight. Just trying to keep the inlet air temperature down and to survive that such a long pull.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, a little different than going eighth to a quarter, but at the same time, not making no anywhere near the horsepower, right? Because it's such a long, you know, pull where they're almost pedaling it too. But yeah, it's amazing the difference between eighth and a quarter and how many people when they think, oh, I'm going to go run the quarter.
Yeah, no, you don't understand how hard it is, and especially on small block stuff as well. Like, it's the counterweights are like tiny thin. It's crazy.
So, Stefan, I know you crashed your car, but tell us about your Nova because it's a pretty serious build.
Okay, so it's 25-1, 66 Nova. It's all steel, all glass. Yeah, it did have fiberglass doors on it, Sick Week now, but it has steel doors. Has had a power glide with the gear vendors at Sick Week. Now it has a Turbo 400. It's a class car now. I've taken a break from drag and drive stuff because after I crashed, I haven't got back in a car on the track since I crashed. I did obviously Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I wasn't. I was just driving it down the. So I want to get my bugs gone from being worried about crashing again, and just race it, class racing for now. So it'll get. It's getting a Noonan billet block, CID SC2 cylinder heads, so small block forward 10 degree canted valve cylinder head.
It's going to be fast. You got Ford parts in it.
Yeah. So we're aiming. It's exactly the same cylinder head. That just the chambers are moved like 20 or 40 thou and the head stud pan. But it's exactly like the raw casting. It's the same head.
Nice.
And the goal is to get it to run. It has 2088 carats on it. And the goal is to get it to run as fast as that truck has been, if not faster.
That was 390s, 380s?
Yeah, 89 that truck was. Yeah. It's going to US Street Nationals in a couple of 2 weeks or so at Bradenton. So might get in the 70s, we'll see. So they've told me that if it gets in the 70s, they're going to post the slip and post the video. They haven't posted. The 389 pass is on the internet, but I'm not telling you which one it. Well, anyone watching this, because it's no time, right? So, but that pass is on the internet. You could probably figure it out from watching which one it is. But I haven't been able to post, hey, customer in the threes or anything. So I kind of backhandedly did it on a Happy New Year post the other day.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but if they go 70s, they said to me they will actually post a slip. So
nice.
That's awesome. We're gonna be hopefully we're gonna be down there with Matt Blasco's. It's a 71 CUDA with a Goodwin Hemi in it with twin 102s. It's 651 cubes. I think the car is 2,800 pounds or something. So,
how close is he, Rich? Is it ready to go?
He had it on the dyno today and made a pull to $8,000 clean. So. All
right, I gotta text him as soon as we're done. What kind of power did it make? Do we know? Does he want people to know?
I think it was like 16 pounds of boost. It made 1,700 horsepower to the tire.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we were making 3,200 horsepower on the engine dyno, and it would boil the water. The brake couldn't hold it past there.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, it's a much like Ben Strader. Todd Goodwin does a bunch of Spintron stuff, and I mean it's a complete billet. It's a complete billet Hemi. So water jacketed though. It's a Goodwin's
Is it his
main
own block?
customer for me.
Is it Goodwin's own block and head design?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh wow,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And he's more of a boat guy actually. So he
I
typically
haven't
runs.
heard of him.
Yeah,
Like offshore racing stuff.
yeah. Doc McIntyre with the Sea Red Camaro. That's the same motor
The NA one.
Doc has, but this one's the first one that's got a twin turbo on it. So
Yeah, cool.
it
Doesn't Doc run in? Is it high sevens or something with that thing? NA.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
That's badass.
and it's
Yeah.
pretty heavy. He just changed over to a Corvette, so it'll be lighter weight. So I think Doc's going to Sick Week too. So this Sick Week I think is going to be one of the most epic ones. I don't know if a couple of the 5-second builds are going to show up. I don't know if they're going to be ready, but it's going to be a pretty wild time for sure.
Yeah, cool. I think I
Nice.
might fly down for it as well. We'll see.
Yeah, awesome.
I got Clint Sadowski with that blue Camaro. I'm just finishing up a 441 cubic inch Union block CID cast head for that. So it should be.
Oh, I didn't know you were building Clint's. We stopped at his air conditioning shop when we were on 66.
Yeah,
Stopped
cool.
in its own. Yeah, great dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. real
Is
nice.
that car going to Sick Week? So that motor's slated to be at Sick Week?
Yeah, it's that motor's on my dyno right now. We should be breaking it in tomorrow morning and making pulls tomorrow
Nice.
midday.
Nice.
Plan to ship it out tomorrow afternoon. So
Nice.
it should be fine. So
That's
he should
incredible.
have it Thursday, I think. So he just got the car back from Dennis Taylor. He did a new cage in it and stuff. So it's 25.2 now.
That
Nice.
is an impressive car. So
Yes,
I
it
can't wait
is.
to see with your motor in it what it'll do because yeah, it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah, just like a normal street car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's running
Yeah.
sevens in it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, for sure. For
I'm
sure.
excited. I'm excited to see what he can do with that.
Nice.
So,
Well,
how many other builds will you?
yeah.
How many other engines will you have at Sick Week?
The one at PRI was going to go, but he's decided to wait and get his license, and he has some licensing passes booked for some track in Arizona. And then Finnegan was going to go with that white Lexus with the engine I built for him, but that ended up having a whole rework of the chassis. I think has been completely redone, so that's not going to go anymore. So literally, I think Clint is the only one I'm going to have with.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think Finnegan's supposed to be there in Blasphemy, but
Oh yeah.
I saw a video the other day, and it's kind of typical Finnegan. There's like no wiring in the car. The motor's not in the car. I think the clutch is at Kale's. So he's got a little bit of work to do in the next 2 weeks because it's coming fast.
Yes. Yeah, it is like 2 weeks away, isn't it?
That's crazy, yeah. I literally said to Clint on the phone on Friday, I said, have you got enough time to do all this? And he was like, yeah, we've got everything planned. I'm like, okay.
Nice. Well, should we dive into the TKO questions, or we got some more questions?
I had another question. So have you done any dry deck engines where you still have water in the block and the heads, just externally?
Clint's is the first dry deck one. Yeah.
Okay.
So that we got to the first two. We've been working with Union for about a year on it, and we've got the first two blocks about 2 months ago. And one's Clint's and one's another guy. The other one is going in that Snot Rocket car. You know, Brett Asada sold that car. And
That's a Coyote, though, isn't it?
It was a Coyote. Yeah, now he's getting an LS. Yeah, he was getting So I'm getting two engines for this guy. This guy wants a 461 class motor, which will 80s maybe faster capable engine, and with the SC2 cylinder heads, well, the LSCR, and he's getting a 441 dry deck hydraulic roller engine, and he's building two cars, that Snot Rocket car and a Nova, and this 461 was going to go in Snot Rocket, and the hydraulic roller motor was going to go into the Nova, but now he's swapped and he wants to take the Snot Rocket one to Lights Out and race it with the hydraulic roller motor. But Clint's will be the first drag and drive. And funny enough, I'm doing a new engine for Westberg. Westberg sold the cast motor that I did for him, and he won Swedish Street Week with that as well, the same year, and then went and raced some. He put it in that Pro mod. He got a '69 Camaro Pro mod now, not the truck. After, so he put it in that, and he went Street Week with that, and then he went to some local events around there. It went competition eliminator, and it went I think 406 in the eighth with that little cast motor in that car. So that's pretty cool. So, but anyway, going back to the dry deck thing, right? Mikhail Borgren and Westberg, they're both Swedish guys. They're both friends of mine, both customers of mine, doing the new engine for Mikhail Borgren's. I know he wrecked his Volvo, but his Camaro is just recently got. They are both friends with a couple of Swedes that run drag and drive with solid blocks and big oil coolers and water in the head only. So the two engines I'm doing for them, they're both solid block with a dry deck cylinder head, and they are adamant that it will work with a big oil cooler and stuff. And I'm like, okay, fine, we can do it.
That's interesting. Hey,
yeah.
Interesting.
I know it. Yeah. I know. I talked to Big Chief Justin Shearer and he's picked his kids up in his car before. No water in the. It's a solid block. It's running on methanol, and he can literally. He says you just got to hit it with gas a couple of times, and there's so much methanol, like Bill was talking about, going through it, that he could control the temperature and drive it around. Now, obviously, he's not driving it for hours. It's probably like a 20-minute little cruise to pick his kids up and home. But
that's crazy.
Yeah. So Clint's motor, I'm guessing that you reverse cool it, so you do heads first, and then the water goes through the block after. Or
I'm not sure what Clint's going to do. He can route it however he wants, but I said for him to go from the radiator to the block, come out the back of the block, back to the radiator. Then itself. So I think it will localize in the radiator, and then the cylinder head. It will all return to a 4-into-1 port that's going to be on the radiator, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Completely separate, I think.
Interesting.
So I just switched mine last year, and I couldn't find anyone who had done it. So I thought, well, what the hell? I'm going to try it. So I still have a mechanical water pump on the front of my Pontiac. It's dry decked. It's an aftermarket Pontiac block, so it had ports on the back of the block. So the water goes from the rad through the water pump, through the block, crosses over to the heads, through the heads, and back into the radiator.
And
it definitely runs a little hotter, but almost still cooler than Bill's.
Now let's a little hotter. Wait, a little hotter in Rich's terms means it runs now 178 degrees.
Oh, wow.
165.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, that's fine. Man, on sick week, I was like 200 degrees, the whole 195, 200 degrees.
Yeah, it does run. It runs like on warm days where it used to run, it would be on thermostat if it was a 160. Now it'll be at like 190 cruising down the road and stuff. But, when I'm going down the track, I mean, that mechanical water pumps like crazy. So I've had zero issues with it so far. Pretty happy with it. Not having to worry about any combustion going into the the coolant and blowing the coolant out while I'm making passes and stuff. And the other goofy thing that I tried, and it seems to be working really well, I haven't taken it back apart yet, is I O-ringed the block, or my engine builder did. These guys here, Muscle Motors, and we had copper on it, and I was getting communication. I didn't actually know, like there was no real indication until I went and basically did a compression tester. I put air on all the cylinders, and there were some friends talking to each other in the head gasket.
Yeah.
So I took the head gaskets off. I had ordered more copper head gaskets and was going to get a receiver groove in the head because I pretty much knew that was the right thing to do. And but I couldn't get one, so I just slapped on some MLS gaskets. Now, mine is a figure 8, so it it's only got one O-ring between. It doesn't have two, and that one O-ring was just like perfect between the two MLS gasket grooves, and I've been beating the hell out of the thing, and it's working great.
Wow, no way, cool.
I've had zero issues, so I've got now. I have copperhead gaskets, but I'm not putting them on until I find a reason to. But
Yeah.
So that's I think it's called a mini hooping is what you've got pretty much, but with a figure of 8 with the MLS gasket.
yeah,
That's what people
yeah,
class as a mini hoop. Or whatever.
yeah, because my bore, like it's a 4 350 bore, and there's just not enough room for two O-rings without chipping off the inside of the.
What's the bore space of that engine?
I don't know, whatever a standard Pontiac one is. So I'm not actually sure, but it's tight. Like there was, I think there might have been 200 thou between the cylinders. Like it would have been tight. You might have been able to do it, but it would have been really tight. So, but anyways,
Do you know? Do you know the reason I crashed at Sick Week?
no.
Okay, so before I had all the machines and stuff that I have now, back in 2021 when we were building the car and the engine, because it was a small block Chevy car and we put the NA alcohol and now we twin turbo LS and stuff. So the new combination took me since 2017 till 2021 to build it in different configuration units in. Anyway, so I had the cylinder heads top fuel hooped by a machine shop about an hour away from me, and it was someone that I looked up to because I've been to the shop and it's full of amazing machines and stuff. He makes the measuring center that that you might see some pictures with the piston inside of it. It's a real fancy jig for measuring pistons and anything round really. Preloads the left gauge by 5 thou, and then you can either see the change in the gauge on the left, or you can actually manually zero it and see it on the card problem right. It's real good, and you can go up and down, and you can see skirt shape and everything like that. And anyway, so he's really good. Like that's amazing. The stuff he makes, like that's amazing. But anyway, instead of fuel hooping my heads, he had O-ringed my cylinder heads. And when you do an O-ring, even I know this, you are meant to cut the O-ring with not a set of dikes pliers. Whichever dikes are either the ones with the pointed jaws,
Yeah.
or the one with the flush cut jaw is maybe dike. But you're meant to do it with the flush cut jaw, so it doesn't make a point on the end of the wire like this. And then you're meant to overlap them. So you cut one at an angle and the other one at the other angle, and so it creates a seal. Well, they just cut it with the pliers that have the jaws that look like this, and there was 2 points, and then you just butted them up. But there was a gap. You could put your fingernail in it. And I questioned it, and no, do all the pro mods like that, blah 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 blah. We were like no time for Sick Week to do anything else, and didn't have any capabilities in my own shop to do anything like that. We didn't have any machine. We had machines I bought from England with us, but we're talking like lathes and milling machines. Didn't have any. I guess I could have done it like in a milling machine, but fuck, I didn't have any fixturing or anything. So I was naive and said, "Oh, knows what he's talking about. Been doing it a long time." Anyway, it was pedaled it at the end of that pass. Realized first time I ever felt it was like 2.6 Gs, I think 2.7 Gs. I'd never felt that before, and so I realized at the end of the track, about 1,000 foot mark, I was like, "Wow, you're not even on the fucking gas anymore." So I put my foot down, which I should have just rolled it out and not done, but I gently squeezed it, and as I squeezed it, we had electronic wastegates. We still have them on the car, but we were on like a beta series of the software because they just come out with them, and the PID control settings was too slow basically. So when you put your foot down, it would overshoot, it would overboost basically all the time, and it would do it at the beginning of the pass, but it would come down and steady out straight away. It would stabilize. So we were coming in 35 pounds on that pass, and it went to 57 pounds at the end, and the coolant pressure was 62 pounds, and the only hose on the car that wasn't AN fitting was the bottom radiator hose. It pushed it off, and that's why I crashed, because the radiator, driving on water. Anyway, got back from finished the week. Just drove off the line for the rest of the day, the week. Didn't build boost or anything. Ran like 10 something every day, just driving down. And then I left it in the garage for a week. It was about 2 weeks, so driving back, and then it was in the garage for about a week at my house here. Went to start it up the weekend after, and it had hydrolocked. Every cylinder was like full of water. I was like, what the fuck? Because we had finished sick week with no problem, right? And
Yeah.
we did 1,000 miles or whatever. And took it apart, and then you could basically see the water trace marks at the end of every O-ring. And you could see on the copper head gasket where the gap in the O-ring hadn't bit into the gasket, and the gasket was just flat there, and the water trace was coming in. It was like dark brown, and you could see it all there. And that's the reason so that's why now I have the CNC machine. I have the CNC holding machine. That's why I went and got in debt buying the best machines that I could buy and bring everything in.
Yeah. And that sounds so familiar because when I did the first race week with the O-rings, I used a copper head gasket, but it wasn't dead soft.
Yeah, because I just got you onto Clark, didn't I?
Yeah, the second round I used the dead soft Clark, and it was better. But when I pulled it apart, same thing. There were traces, and it was making coolant pressure, just like that. And yeah, and now with the fuel hoops, the O-ring only sticks up about 12 thou, and with the fuel hoop, I think we did them to your specs, and I believe they stick out 20 thou now. And with the dead soft gasket and it being a complete hoop, there's nowhere for it to go. So,
and it's 40 thou thick versus like your wire before was probably 15 or 20 thou thick. So,
well, I think it was 41 thousandths thick, but only stuck up 12 thou.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you did you put a head on, torque it down, and take it off again?
I didn't take it off. I just torqued it about 6 times until it quit.
Yeah, good, perfect. So when you take it apart, that groove you'll see, it's fucking badass. It's like a big, like.
My understanding is the head will be hard to take off. Is that right?
Yeah, the gasket will be hard to get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll need a screwdriver to get the gasket out.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get it back together. The heads are on. I got all the valve train in. I'm gonna go back and relash the valve a little tighter now. And then just prime it and see what kind of oil flow we got, and then it's pretty much back together. So, yeah, so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to sick week?
I'm going as a passenger, but unless my GTO will be ready to go, and Mother Nature's, the weather sucks here, but I'll throw on some winter tires and some mud flaps and I'll head out. But the plan is Blasco looks like he's making good progress. So as long as his car is ready to go, we're going to go a week early and do a bunch of testing because that thing hasn't made a pass yet with that combination in that car. So, it potentially could run fives. There's no way we're going to run fives this week. If we're in the sixes and we average in the sixes, I think that's a pretty damn successful first outing if we can make it happen. So we're going to test with a bunch of the big guys, Schroeder and all those guys. There's a bunch of people testing for the first week. So as long as I can get Matt's ass in gear and we can get down there, then we should have a good time.
Good, cool.
Nice.
Where, are you going to be testing at Bradenton or South Georgia?
I'm not sure yet, actually, because Bradenton, that's where the
U.S. Street Nationals is.
U.S. Street Nationals, and must be on a weekend, is it?
It's the 27th, yeah, but it's like people will be there from like Sunday, Monday, the week before.
Oh yeah. So I'm not sure. I haven't dug into where we're going to test yet. But I know we got to test somewhere.
All right, ready for the TKO questions?
Yeah, if you guys want to, move on to no problem.
All right, Rich, you want to take the first one, or you want to give it to me?
Sure. No, let's tell us more about the first car you owned and modified. I think you touched on it a bit already.
Yeah. So it was a 67 Bug, Savannah Beige. It was from Northern Ireland, from Belfast. So it had, in England, the license plates weird from Belfast, it was like a 5989 TZ, and the Northern Ireland plates would always have a Z on it. It would be like 4 numbers and 2 letters, and it would always have a Z in it, and that's how you could tell a car was from Northern Ireland. I cowlocked it, so I took the bumpers off, lowered the front of it only, put big tires on the back, small tires on the front, had a 1641, the one I built with my dad when I was 14 in there, and put a roll cage in it, drove it around, learned to drive a Volkswagen Polo before that, actually, but pretty much that was the first car I drove on the street. And then built, when I was, I think, 17, going into 18, I built a 2.3 litre with 48 IDA carburetors for it, and I'd go out and like race Aston Martins and Porsches and shit like that. That was really, really fun, you know.
Did you ever have one of those gas heaters on it?
No heaters on it at all. Just took the heat exchangers off and just had J tubes on it. So.
I had one of those like combustion units that go underneath the fender that like, shoot flames, but it basically took gasoline right out of the tank and lit it in this little chamber. And that thing was forever throwing flames out. And you had instant heat, but
I know the ones. It's like a Webasto or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, not as cold in England as it is in Alberta.
Okay, Stefan, let's jam this thing into second gear. What, in your opinion, has been the biggest technology change to move our sport forward?
Honing and bore geometry, I think, but also valve train. They're both two things that I'm really passionate about, and I think they're very. I think they're both. I think valve train probably more than the bore geometry thing, surface finish. But at the same time, it don't matter if you've got the best valve train in the world. If it's not sealing.
So, you know what? That reminds me of a question I forgot to ask you earlier. What are your thoughts, and do you build any engines that run a gapless top ring? And what are your thoughts on that?
I tried them and they don't work.
They don't seal, or they don't last, or what?
Not that they don't work. I have, I think, 3 engines out there that do have them in still, and they've got no problems. But we would, on the dyno, we would get dry exhaust ports and low pan back like after 3 pulls. With the gapless top, we would be 15 to 20 pulls to get dry exhaust.
Just because they wouldn't seal up, it took a long time for them to seat.
I don't know if they don't let cylinder pressure behind the ring or something to seal up, or if it's pulling that much vacuum that it pulls oil down the valve guides or something. I don't know, but yeah. And I actually spoke to Lake Speed multiple times about it, and he's a great salesman. But one time he actually came out and was at my shop and actually said, "Look, we only use those in diesel shit. Don't use them in the gasoline."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh wow! I wish you would have told me that fucking 2 years ago." And I preached it to customers. Really.
All right.
You guys don't use gapless, do you?
No. I don't know. I've thought about it. I tried it once in a Subaru, and it was a second ring, and that thing came apart in a spectacular way, which we can talk about later. But when I took it down to the shop, he said he'd never seen piston material stuck in an intake port like that. It was so bad.
I don't know what the hell you were doing there, but good going.
Oh, yeah, right. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, my engine builder put some in a Ram Air 4 GTO Judge, a very high dollar car, but the owner wanted it. And it was an oil pump. It seemed like it was just struggled, put normal rings back in, and it was good to go after that. So.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they do, but maybe it doesn't.
Something's going on there that I think we'll just stick with the standard stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if it's cylinder pressure. It's not letting cylinder pressure get behind the rings and force the rings out into the cylinder wall or something like that. And because it's the same thing. Like it seemed like blow by, wet exhaust ports. It literally, second got rid of them. Fuck, amazing.
Okay, I'm trying to think how this works. How does it work in a 4-speed? So is it still left to right? So first is up over to the left? And then
top left, and then down.
All right.
And then
so I guess we're still jamming it into third with our left hand.
Jamming into third, definitely, yeah. Just imagine you sit in the passenger seat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just let them shift.
You drive and
Yeah.
I'll shift. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Coordinate your clutch and your gear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. So if you could spend one day with someone, who would it be, and what would you do?
And my granddad, I would have my granddad back, and I would spend the day with him, and I would just love to hang out with him and show him everything that I've done, and talk more about what he did, and ride the train, I guess, something like we used to do when I was a
What,
kid.
what did your granddad do?
He was um, he built, he worked in a factory, but I'm not. I think it was munitions. I
Wow.
don't know much about what he did, to be honest. I know what he did in the war, but I don't know much about what he did.
Yeah.
I was too young to.
Yeah. All right. So let's rip this thing back into fourth gear. What influences you to build your car or cars?
I looked at the questions and I tried to think about the answer to this, and dude, I don't know. Just I just want to go fast with a small block and
Okay.
uh, show up some of the guys that build billet.
650 cube twin turbo Hemis.
Our friend we talked about earlier on.
Got it. Got it. Yep. Yep. Oh, and I had an answer to your question earlier. Big block Pontiac bore space is 4.62.
It was like in between a small block and a big block Chevy. What about you guys? What inspires you to build your cars?
So I can go. I can go first. So mine has always been. It has to be able to go anywhere I want on the street, bar none. Most importantly, without without a truck and trailer anywhere. So I've never owned like a trailer to haul my car around. It always had to be street first, because I would go to the track. I would pass people. I would pass race cars on the way to the track. I would beat them at the track. I would watch them make one pass and have some issues and put it back in the trailer and go home. And man, like the season up here is not that long. So I could drive mine to work. I could take friends for rides. I just never really wanted to have a race car. I just wanted to see how fast I could make the car go, and still be 100% streetable, that I could drive it to Florida if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's cool. That's how I used to be in England. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, you do it a lot. Like I only drove my bug to like Belgium, raced Belgium, drove it back. But I used to be like that. Now since moving here, I'm more like I love definitely 1,000%, and I respect everything that you do with that as well. Especially you driving from up there down to the races. Not even like you don't even put it in a trailer to go to the fucking drag. You're on your own drag and drive on the way there, kind of thing. Like, it's fucking cool. Uh, but now I've got more involved with the class stuff, and I really like that competitiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and like when they're class restricted, like X275 single 88, it's like a kind of like pro stock, but like the pro stock of like outlaw drag racing, I guess. So I really like that, but I will return to drag drive. But I'm trying to get your answers because I don't know what my answer really is. I don't know what the answer, not the answer is, but like what kind of. So what's yours?
Yeah, so I second a lot of what Rich said. I've never owned a truck and trailer, and I felt like I have respect for guys that have race cars, but honestly, to spend all that time going to the track and making a few passes and going home, like it's so fun to drive these things on the street, and basically along with what Rich said, and I think that's why him and I became such good friends years ago. I mean, it's been a decade, I think, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
2013. So, yeah, I like to have a streetcar that's fun at the drag strip. And when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you got that race car?" I always correct them. I'm like, "No, this is a streetcar." But I also like the idea of, and perhaps a lot of things in my life. I like to, what is it? Muhammad Ali said, or somebody said, like just walk quietly and carry a big ass stick.
Yeah,
Just be very unassuming, and then when the time comes, you don't even have to talk about it. They'll just see with your actions what it's about. And honestly, nowadays, that's becoming harder and harder. I mean, I used to poke fun at Rich for a long time that I was faster than him, and now he's just whipping my ass. So I got to get a bigger stick, or at least get it figured out better. But that's it. I mean, I like to have like just some of the best memories I've had is driving down the highway, and this would have of course been in Mexico, but I roll raced 1,000cc bike and freaking smoked them on pump gas
Wow,
on my street tires, and
that's awesome.
this car has bench seats in it and everything, and the dude was like, "What just happened?"
Yeah, I bet,
That's the best. I mean, that's the best. So yeah, that kind of describes it for me.
Yeah, and I do like people to be able to see the car. Like it is crazy how many places I've been in the U.S. Like I remember leaving sick week. I think it was the first year, and ended up in a gas station in Tennessee. And I kid you not, there was 3 separate vehicles, all people that had been watching sick week. I
no
was
way.
like,
Yeah,
and they knew the car, and they were freaking out that they were seeing the car, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's just crazy that so
that's
many
badass.
people are watching it and stuff. But you're getting thumbs up from freaking 70-year-old ladies on the highway and stuff, and it's just cool. I like they should be out and they should be getting driven. Unless I totally respect the class car thing too, and understand the challenge of how competitive that is. A good friend of mine, Jordan Brandon. I mean,
Yeah, I know Jordan.
yeah, yeah, like his. I've nothing against it. That's just not my gig. That's not what I want to do, right? And well, yeah,
Yeah, I flip flop honestly. Every year we go PRI, we go to Nicky Blaine's Cigar Lounge with Schroeder and John Enns and some other guys, and I spend like like January to April with class customers and go into lights out and other events, and then summer not really much goes on, and then I go to PRI, and I always get back on the drag and drive like thing. Like I've all year been thinking about like do this, and this to the car, this lockup converter, like all this stuff, and then I go to there, we talk shit. Like even right now, this is making me like want to go out back in the garage and put the rate. It's all still there, it all slots in and everything. I've made it so it's removed. It can be a dual purpose car really, but it makes you just want to go drag and drive again. And I think I'm ultimately just gonna do that. Like the block that we've got in order is a dry deck block, and the heads I have are solid, but I think I'll get some dry deck and then make it so we can do both because I think both are fucking awesome in their own respects. But I do, and I have always been exactly what you just said. Why the fuck would you want to spend 100, 200k on a car to just drive 8 mile at a time? Like, you can't even warm the son of a bitch up for more than 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I've always, yeah, I really enjoy driving my car as well. I used to drive it to the track in England. It was 20 miles to the track. No, it was 25 miles, and I had a 5 gallon cell with a Dominator 1050, and I got 22 miles to 5 gallons of alcohol in the small Chevy. And I drive in the passenger seat, put a 5 gallon pail VP jug in the passenger seat, and then at 22 miles, I'd stop, fill it up, and then carry on driving. Rates go faster than most of the guys in the UK because it was running high eights, and the UK it's quite behind. Everyone's still. I mean, I was carburetor, but most of the cars are like no. If you're an 8 second car in the UK back in 2016, it was like what the fuck, especially if it drove on the street. Kind of thing. So it was pretty cool. I love that. That was awesome. So like driving it at sick week for me, I was like, I felt completely natural because I'd done so many miles in it already in England. Yeah, drag and drive thing is special in it. You can't.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is not a Volkswagen gear, but we're going to go into fifth. But I'm going to change the question up a bit. So, what, in your opinion, is the secret to picking a good engine builder?
Hey, I think you have to have an engine builder that has winning combinations out there, takes pride in their work. Like if I was shopping for an engine and I saw pictures of a guy's shop and it was like a fucking bomb went off.
Hammers.
No, that's loads of hammers, multiple rags in the background, and shit everywhere, right? No, like I don't think that I would think that the I'm not saying everyone's like this, but I would think, in my head, I would think, messier environment, isn't the engine going to be messy as well, kind of thing. I think a clean room goes hand in hand with clean measuring, clean assembly, clean engine. I would less is more. I think, like referencing like people designing their own platforms when there's no need, or renaming a platform to call it your own platform. Like I think less is more. Someone that has knowledge of tuning, has a great team, i.e., valve train, camshaft design, a torque converter guy, because engine building isn't a solo uh, thing. We have multiple conversations with camshaft grinder, the guy we spoke to, who, I mean, I think I know about valve train, but I feel I know like 10% of valve train compared to what the guy who did, we got your springs from, and similar stuff. And I talked to him. I'm like, man, I feel like a fucking idiot, and I think I have a good understanding of it, but Jesus, and I think it's all a team, and obviously you're not going to phone someone and say, hey, who do you do with this and this and this and this, but I think understanding that it is a team of professionals.
Doing some research ahead of time.
I think that's super well put, and it goes beyond engine building. Like Rich in your job, we talk about that some too. But you're so successful at what you do because of the team that you've built. Like anybody that's successful is because of the team and the people they surround themselves with. It's not a one man show.
No, it's not. No way. And I think some of the guys that portray them as themselves as a one man show, I don't know, they're lost or something, because it's not. And the other thing is having their own machine shop. Like, I never wanted to be a machine shop, moving kit, ever. Always engine builder. But after almost 6 years of being here, or even it only took me my own crash, and that was only after almost 3 years of being here. Yeah, 3 years of being here, because it's 3 years next month that I crashed. 3 years of being here, it took me to realize that, hey, you can't just be an engine builder. You have to be a machinist too. You have to have all your own machines. And I never wanted to buy a fucking $100,000 CNC machine, or I never cared. Not that I never cared. I just never thought. I always thought that the machine shop could do that, and I could do the engine builder work. But you have to do it, and then you quickly realize that there's a lot of stuff that you can do in machining that's fucking badass, and to make your shit have great bore geometry, and hoops that seal and stuff, and not have coolant pressure. You know, the clearance in this drag and drive stuff that you need to put in the mains, and in certain housing you need to have different, and you can't do all that without a machine. So, or all machines, I should say. So I think, whenever someone is shopping for someone, it has to be someone with good machines, their own machines, understanding of everything, and kind of, I'm not going to ask them if they've got a team, but I don't know, kind of whatever, and other engines that are going to be already have been out there doing what they say your engine will do. Integrity as well. Integrity is fucking huge. Like I speak to everyone all the time. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, I've got your money now, thanks, fuck off. Like, no, like me and Clinton on the phone for like an hour the other day, and one part of that phone call was me saying, hey, your engine's finished, yeah, but the rest of it was talking about what he's going to do, strategies, blah 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 blah, different things, and you become friends with pretty much most of your customers, and it's also, engine builders have to pick customers, because if a guy phones up and says to me, I'm shopping around, just looking for the best deal on a 2,000 horsepower engine, I'm like, nah, go find someone else, sorry, because you're going to be a headache, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I've often said that if I had more time on my hands, or I really cared enough, I would start a customer
review based kind of thing.
Yeah, where builders could also check their customers before they show up, and you find out that he's been to 5 engine shops and posted all kinds of trash about all 5 of them, and meanwhile he's been setting lash run the whole time. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah.
Lack of
Yeah,
education. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Sometimes it's best to just fire customers in some instances.
Yeah, I've fired 3 customers. Yeah, and then we've probably the biggest going in the whole world to them. But yeah, no, I've never built them engines and never will.
Yeah. All right. So yet another non-Volkswagen gear, sixth, double overdrive.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely pay a lot of money
yeah.
for that in a Volkswagen.
Yes. So, what advice would you give to someone getting into this sport? Or we can even change it up a little. What advice would you give to someone wanting to move into engine building or machining? How about that? Kind of tricked you because we changed the questions.
No, that's fine. No, it's someone getting into engine building machining. Just be prepared to get in debt financially. Have to have your own machines. I say the sooner you get your own machines, the better. And I think you have to have your own car. I think you have to have your own car and your own program to be able to R&D things and use yourself as a test bed before you go and charge someone thousands and thousands of dollars and they be your test bed, And I see that all the time, and I think it's not how it should be done. Like anything you prototype or whatever, or anything you want to offer as a combination should be tested under that basis, or if not, you should be the one testing it. Because often you hear of younger people going to work at places and then leaving and starting up by themselves. And I think that's wrong because I feel that, well, I just trained someone up for 18 months and he no longer works for me now. And if he went and started his own engine shop, which I know he wouldn't be able to, but if he did, I would be so fucking pissed because I spent all that time training him and showing him all the secrets I'm not secrets, but all the stuff that I do and how I do things. And I know a lot of people do that. So I think my best advice would be start out, jump in the deep end by yourself, try and buy a machine or some machines and just start at it. And start at wherever level you're comfortable at or can afford and just go up from there. You might start out building 400 horsepower street engines or 300 horsepower street engines, but have a car, do it, test it, make sure it works, take it to the next level. Just don't know really.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Stefan, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. Really, this has been pretty awesome.
No, thank you guys, man.
Yeah, and let me just get the tail end of this on here, and then we can keep talking a little bit. But again, huge thanks to Stick Shift Nation and Travis Foster for doing all the back end work and hosting this podcast. You can always find the Clutch Burners podcast on all the platforms. If you want to see it continue, head over to stickracing.com. There's Stick Shift Nation merch on there, hats, stickers, and also Clutch Burner shirts. We love to see those out in public. So, Stefan, go ahead and plug your social media stuff. We did that before, but do it again.
Okay, if you want to see my builds and some of the customers' cars, you can go on our Instagram page at Ace Racing Engines, Ace_Racing_Engines, or Facebook. Just search Ace Racing Engines.
All right.
We have a website, ace-engines.com.
Okay.
We do have YouTube. I think it's Ace Racing Engines, but I don't put much on there at that time. So.
Okay. A lot of other people post for you with their stuff when they win, so it's all good. So, no, man, this has been great. I super appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely.